the wrestling podcast that sets all other podcasts apart. Covering news from the world of WWE, AEW, TNA, and more. Your favorite weekly episodic podcast, Ramblers Unleashed, starts now.
Back to some normalcy and our normal time on a Saturday afternoon. Hope your afternoon is going good. Welcome to Ramblers Unleashed, your weekly episodic podcast, all on the wonderful world of professional wrestling. Happy weekend to you, man. It's the first day of June, so happy June. And let me introduce the guys. First and foremost, Baron is on assignment today. He's busy trying to perfect the right amount of THC that J-Bone needs to adequately both feel good and still be able to do the show. So speedy recovery to our good friend, the Baron. And I guess I should do his catchphrase, 999. He does it better than I do. So, there is that. Next up, our favorite neighborhood heel, the heel who always gets over with the crowd, even in a dress. The only heel that I know who would drive to Tony Khan's house, try to lure him outside with Ryback to tell him what's wrong with AEW. He is not the only guy that I know also that pops bigger for Joel Gertner than any of us. You can address him as Mr. Magus, but we call him the mighty Maximus Magus. Golfers clap.
It's not hard. It's not hard to lure Tony Khan out of his house. It's hard to keep him focused once I hand him the bag of cocaine.
Well, you got to keep the cocaine out. I mean, you can't give him the candy right away. You have to lure it in front of him to say, "Hey, here's what's wrong with AEW, and I'll give you this once you listen to me."
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh,
yeah, exactly. Ooh, piece of candy.
Listen, as far as the right amount of THC, whenever he took that show before, is the right amount of THC I want J-Bone on during the show.
He's still working on it, man.
Baron has a lot of work ahead of him. Finally, our producer of the show, the man, the myth, the absolute legend, for without his technical wizardry, this and his vast knowledge of wrestling, and his missus, because she graciously gifts us his time to do the show. And once in a while, he gets an edible as a treat. The host of Smash This podcast and total nonstop impact with the latest TNA reviews on YouTube over any other podcast, ladies and gentlemen. He is the great and infamous J-Bone. Golfers clap. J-Bone, you have had yourself a busy week. We were talking off the air that not only are you doing this show, but you were doing several different shows on TNI, and we also did together a Smash This podcast after AEW.
And he did that review of RuPaul's drag show too.
Oh yeah, I can't forget that, man. Can't forget that. You've had a busy week, man.
Dude, I'm not into drag racing. What is this? What?
The only drag racing you're into is going to the track and watching cars, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I didn't know RuPaul was into that. When did RuPaul get into cars?
I guess Ru changes the name. I don't know, but
is that a thing? Whatever. But happy Pride
Month. I don't know.
Pride Month.
Happy first day of June, J-Bone. You've like we said, you've had a busy week, man.
It was. This week is the most I think I've podcasted in the last 2 to 3 years, just because Smash has been so just kind of on the back burner, and I've been putting in a majority of my time and energy into TNI. But then we started this bad boy up. This is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode. We don't say this much, but this is episode number 17.
Yeah,
we'll call it the reboot. It's the reboot because this podcast in itself is years old, but then it went dormant as well. So this is the reboot. It's episode 17.
Yeah.
But this week, man, a lot of crazy news in the world of TNA and WWE, and Jordan Grace, as you can see on the cover,
Yeah.
She's a history maker. She showed up on NXT, and we're gonna cover all that.
We're gonna cover it all. Yeah.
Lot of stuff in the world of TNA, and
well, not just her.
No. I'm just saying. I'm just mentioning a couple bits of what we're going to talk about and just what happened this week that I've been covering. That's all. But yeah, it's been a wild week. Just want to thank everyone for because a lot of this audience does come over from TNI, and some are OGs of this podcast as well. So just thank you everyone who gives this podcast a shot, because we pride ourselves in just covering a little bit of everything. Like I said to Diz, we're kind of a well-rounded podcast. I do want to quickly say what's up to Keith in the chat. I saw you post something in the chat the other day, and I apologize, I didn't respond to it immediately. Says he's recovering from what is this? You had colon surgery, bro. That can't be fun. We're gonna keep you in our prayers, and we'll hope that you have a healthy recovery from whatever is all involved in that. Much love to everyone else that showed up today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Javon, and we appreciate all of the audience that comes over from TNI over to our channel to, I know you guys cover TNA, right? Just TNA. So this is like the well-rounded show that you can come to and hear all the news back behind the scenes of not only TNA, but we also discuss AEW. We also discuss the big stories from the WWE and any other promotion that has any type of news that needs to be discussed. You can find that right here. And yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for years and years and years. It started with Bubba and myself and Max. And then we brought on the Baron, and then J-Bone, we ran into you, and we've had just a ton of success with you during the reboot of Ramblers Unleashed. And it's all because of all the hard work that you do. We all put, the right amount of hard work into the show. And of course we wouldn't be able to do this without our fans. So thank you for coming over here and giving us a shot. And every week we try to go on. I mean, we've been doing this kind of weird lately. We've, usually we go live around this time on Saturdays, but with all the PLEs and pay-per-views and personal stuff going on between all of us, we've had to, change it up with different times. We haven't been the best communicators because sometimes we just get too busy to be able to communicate on social media, but we try, definitely.
I'm supposed to be on the road to Denver right now, but between the weather and the lack of AC, lack of power this week, I haven't had time to load my car up to get on the road, and it's currently raining. So I'm like, you know what? I'm supposed to be on the road, not on the show, but I can't do that. So I may as well be on the show.
Exactly. And, it's just, there's just a lot going on with all of us in our personal lives. And we still want to put on the best product for not only you, but for us too, because we take a lot of pride in the show. So let's dive in. Let's dive into some of the big stories that we've got for you today. Max, what's up, man? Before
you do that, I want to do something off topic real quick. It's because of J-Bone. I blame him. It's his decorating in his room there. I know I've mentioned the item directly behind him before, but it came to my head for a different reason today. There is this game people play online where you recast an entire movie with Muppets, but you save one human to play the role. And because of what I see behind him, I have recast Beetlejuice. Now it will be called Animal, and Lydia Dietz, Winona Ryder, is the only one I'm keeping as a human.
I am ready to see the reboot of that Beetlejuice movie, honestly. I am so ready for it.
From what it looks like in the trailers, we may actually get that starting scene where he is still in the waiting room waiting for his turn.
Yeah, and I've got to go back and watch the original because it's been years since I've seen the original, but I'm excited. J-Bone and I were just off air talking about after the show today, I'm finally going to be able to get to see Ghostbusters, The Frozen Empire, which I've been waiting to see for so freaking long. I didn't get to the theater to go see it. I did get to see Afterlife in the theater. My God, I cried. I'm just going to say that right now.
Wait, is Frozen Empire finally streaming?
Yep. Frozen Empire is actually out on Blu-ray right now. So I know, man.
I can't go get a Blu-ray. I've already taken down my Blu-ray player. So if it's on streaming, I can watch that while I'm packing.
Yeah.
There you go. It's gonna cost you something unless you got some kind of voodoo wizardry.
Well, which app is it streaming on?
I have no idea. You'd have to go on and find it. Maybe Amazon, probably Amazon Prime or somewhere right there. I don't think it's on a specific app right now. I think it's just on video on demand. So, if you find it, let our audience know, because if they're fans of Ghostbusters, like I've been for so many years, they might be interested in that. Let's go ahead and dive into everything that we've got to dive into today, because this is going to be a lot. Just going to say that right off the bat. First and foremost, TNA has made huge headlines in recent months, and after their knockout champion Jordan Grace made a shocking appearance on the May 28th edition of NXT. Grace was revealed to be the next challenger for the NXT Women's Championship, currently held by Roxanne Perez, at their upcoming special show, NXT Battleground, set to take place on June 9th at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. Moreover, this appearance is expected to set the tone for future appearances by TNA and NXT stars in the near future. However, things have not been quite well backstage management of TNA, despite the partnership with WWE, including one of the biggest departures from TNA. According, again, this is from PW Insider, so take this with a grain of salt. And J-Bone, I want you to give us your aspect and opinion on this, since you do cover a lot of TNA. Among one of those individuals affected by the current changes is David Sahadi, who served as the creative director for the organization of TNA. He had a tenure of 4 years at Anthem and a history with TNA Impact since March 2006, bringing in a wealth of experience, having previously worked with WWE. Now, the departure of Sahadi marks a notable change within the creative team, adding to the list of departures Artie Evans, who held the position of head of creative for TNA. According to this report, Evans had been, quote, increasingly frustrated, end quote, and had reportedly decided to step down prior to the implement of cuts. Evan, who is known for his prior stint at WWE, joined TNA October 2019. So backstage news, J-Bone, what do you know anything about the departure of Artie Evans and David Sahadi?
All right, so I got my own sources, and I'm not going to say who or whatever, but I got my own sources that I talked through the TNI squad, and they talked to someone internally, and they said it's nothing to worry about. They're adding some more firepower to the team. So
okay.
I'm gonna say this, and this is just kind of big picture wise. Whenever something like this happens, especially in a company, say like WWE or AEW, where the company is on a grander scale, when something like that happens, it doesn't mean, I mean, yeah, sure, it means something, but it doesn't mean as much because they got so many resources internally.
Sure.
When you have something like this happen in TNA, it does seem like a bigger deal, because TNA is a smaller company and you only have X amount of people working internally behind the scenes, guerrilla writers and such. So for that particular company, yeah, it seems like a big deal, but it's really not. This stuff happens all the time. TNA has been going through some big changes this year.
I think with the departure of Scott, after we saw Scott leave the company, I think a lot of dominoes have fallen, and is that because
yeah.
Are they not happy with the direction that Anthem is going? Are they not happy with how Scott was dismissed from his role? Do you know if that's the reason, if there is a reason?
There was a lot of talk backstage as far as people being possibly uncomfortable with the leaving of Scott D'Amore from the company, but that got settled down pretty quickly. And it's from veterans in the company at the time, like guys like the Motor City Machine Guns, veterans that have been in the company and in the industry for so long. They did that. So okay, now I didn't know this. Like I said, I'm this all.
Wow.
So all this stuff happened post when me and Bill were live Thursday night. This all happened Friday morning. So we're still, finding stuff out here. Mayor says Lou D'Angeli, who is a big proponent for like the marketing and such, is also gone from the company. I don't know if he was fired, because I know Mayor said Mayor messaged me the other day and he said all these people are fired. Well, I don't know if they were fired or if they left. I don't want to say either way because I'm not positive. Yeah, words. Damn. Where's my edibles? I'm not sure.
I'm still working on that.
I'm not sure how it went either way. I don't know exactly, so I don't want to say. But nonetheless, yes, unfortunately, they are gone from the company. So they're gonna bring it, because they do have a new president, and so the new president is gonna do some stuff. He's gonna do everything he can to take this company to the next level. And honestly, if I can give some constructive criticism, as much as I love the brand, I feel like it's been kind of like stuck where it is. It certainly has grown. It certainly has grown out of the LOL TNA stage, I feel like, but it hasn't like hit that next level. Like they brought back the TNA brand, which felt really like boom, like, oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
Certainly recognizable in the world of professional wrestling, as we saw with Jordan.
History.
Yeah, as we've seen with Jordan Grace showing up, there was a massive TNA chant. So we know people know that. But as far as the brand growing, it feels like it needs something. And that we can kind of segue that into what's going on with Jordan Grace and the WWE, because I feel like that in itself is really going to help boost things. But where that's going in the long run, I don't know. I know some people are like, oh, WWE is just going to buy TNA. Right. It's like, pump the brakes on that one, bro. I don't think so.
That was my next question for you is, I know that TNA is trying to do different things, trying to grow the brand, and they're doing fantastic with what I've seen on, there you go, with what I've seen on, is it? Well, like I said, Baron's still working on yours, so give him time. Perfection takes time,
My shit's in the other room.
The growth of TNA, back on the tracks here, with the growth of TNA, and all these recent let goes and all that, and changes within the company and things like that, and then partnering up now with the WWE, especially TNA or NXT rather. Do you think that there could be, maybe the two companies could merge quietly do you think that could be a possibility where the two companies could come together and say, look, this is what we're going to do to help you with creative, but you're also going to get some of our NXT stars. Our NXT stars will go to TNA. Your TNA guys will come to NXT. Do you think that would be a good crossover if they could help them with creative?
I don't know where, like generally I was just thinking to myself before we were live, it was like, ooh, WWE is crossing the line, so to speak. And that's a classic TNA term. You cross the line, come on over. I really don't know exactly to what extent is happening. This is going to be something that doesn't happen overnight. I feel like this is going to be a long road of WWE working with TNA. I don't think it's necessarily a takeover. I think it's someone in our TNA chat suggested that this might possibly, please take this with a grain of salt. Yeah. It might possibly be a thing where TNA becomes kind of a feeder company to WWE. I don't know. It's exciting, but I don't know, like, you know, people are like, oh, well, what is exactly happening? Well, we don't know yet, you know? So there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of fantasy booking, and that's fun. I don't do that a lot, but there's a lot of fantasy booking out there. People are like, oh, how about Moose versus Drew McIntyre?
I mean, there
stuff like that.
There's been some speculation that Drew McIntyre could possibly appear at a TNA show. So that would not be I don't think that would be out of the realm of possibility, honestly, if Drew came to TNA and challenged Moose, you know. It's interesting to see what's gonna happen between, you know, TNA and NXT and how they're gonna flip-flop stars back and forth. By the way, I do have to point this out. If you watched the show last week, my best friend, my brother from another mother from Kentucky, was here. And I was going to sit the show out, but I said, you know what, man, let's go live. And he said, absolutely. So Mac is in the chat. My brother from another mother. What's up, dude? I love you. And thank you for checking us out, man. We certainly appreciate you, and hope you're well. I'm going to talk to you after the show too, by the way. So it's exciting to see what NXT and TNA are going to do, man. It's really exciting for both of the brands.
It is. The fact that people and if you guys haven't seen the Busted Open YouTube channel, the interview that they had, it's David LaGreca and Tommy Dreamer interviewing Jordan Grace, and it's about 25 minutes long. It's almost a half an hour long. So when you have time, please check that out. It really is a great interview. It's a deep dive into kind of what Jordan Grace is going through, what she's thinking, how she's feeling about all this. It's really good. She also revealed, and I revealed this over on my other little podcast called Total Nonstop Impact. Jordan Grace's match that she is going to have in Chicago for Against All Odds. Sorry, brain fart. There's so much happening. So J-Bone's head is scrambled, to say the least, lately. Against All Odds in Chicago. Now, that's following the Battlegrounds pay-per-view that she's going to appear on, including next week on NXT. Jordan Grace's match on Against All Odds is going to be an open challenge. Now, that hasn't been officially put out there from TNA, but she did say that in the interview, so I gotta take that as fact if she put it out there. So that's also big news because that just brings even more speculation as to, is someone else going to pop over from NXT, WWE? What is there going to be some invasion? What's going to happen? It's very exciting. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan takes Roxanne Perez's belt at Battleground, and then Roxanne shows up, in Chicago, and then tries to win it back, and something like that. It's very exciting,
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is going to be a huge deal for TNA and for NXT too, because especially if TNA is trying to move in a different direction away from the ideas that maybe Scott had or any of the ideas that former creative had. It's definitely interesting to see. It's a brand to watch now, and it is definitely come a long way from when Dixie Carter was running it. I will say that. It's exciting. It's new. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's what pro wrestling needs, honestly. Now let's dive into let's keep on the TNA thing, because this partnership is huge. As we all know, the global juggernaut of wrestling, WWE, just sent the shockwaves across the wrestling industry with the announcement of its new partnership with TNA. The recent appearance of TNA knockout champion Jordan Grace on NXT this week marks the beginning of this renewed collaboration that first began in January of 2024. Furthermore, Grace has now been named the #1 contender for Roxanne Perez's NXT Women's title at next NXT Battleground PLE. This crossover, however, is just the start of things that are possibly in store, and that's not all. According to their social media platforms, former WWE Tag Team Champ Xavier Woods recently expressed that he and his partner Kofi Kingston aim to become the TNA Tag Team Champions and to record a song with TNA star Joe Hendry. Hendry took to his X account and tweeted saying, quote, "He said my name. Who wants to do a song collab with Austin Creed, Kofi, and Xavier Woods? I'm 100% serious," end quote. Now, just to give this some sort of just to kind of go over things. Joe's last single went to #4 in the UK, and he says this collab could possibly go to #1. And Joe Hendry, I gotta say, is one of the most up and coming superstars for that company. He's got everything. I mean, the dude's got it all. He's so good on the microphone. He's got a kind of a rock sense of humor with going out there with a guitar, kind of crossing over to Elias. I think this is going to be really, really fun to watch. Joe Hendry is just a blast to watch, especially during his promos and what songs and what creative things that he can come up with to get under his opponent's skin. So it's going to be fun, man. And the reason I brought this story up, because I know, Max, you are way over for Joe Hendry.
Oh my God, this guy is talented, and I've never even seen him wrestle. When I first came across this guy,
gotta see him wrestle, bro.
Oh, I know. When I first came across, he's the one that's reignited my interest in TNA. Him and Jordan appearing at Royal Rumble, those two things sparked an interest. But I'll come back to that in just a second. The first time I ever encountered Joe Hendry was an entrance that he made over there in his home independent federation in the UK, and it was done to the tune of "In the Air Tonight," but it was called "I Can Feel Joe Hendry Tonight" or something like that. Amazing! I love this guy, but that's not the only entrance he did. If you go through, you can find a whole bunch of his specialized entrances on YouTube. But I didn't find a single match. All I found was his special entrances. Now, that being said, the reason I've re-sparked interest in seeing TNA in it and in the present, we've talked about this before. Previously, before the reboot on our past show, it's not that I disliked the workers. I thought the workers were doing a good job back then, but I thought that the powers that be at the time were messing things up, so I had no interest. Now, Joe Hendry, Jordan Grace, I mean, come on. How can you not want to check this company out with two powerhouses like that being in the limelight on a regular basis? Somebody, I don't remember who, I went looking for the post while you guys were talking a minute ago, made a post that said, perhaps this will lead to more crossovers between promotions, not just WWE and TNA, but now the WWE has finally allowed a crossover with them like this. Maybe this will lead to more crossovers with more promotions, and the wrestling fans and the wrestlers will finally have the wrestling world that they deserve.
This is good. This is huge news, and it's exciting. Like we said, this is exciting. This is an exciting time to be a pro wrestling fan because you have so many different promotions to watch, and you're watching one who is still trying to figure everything out, and with no help from Tony Khan, of course. And then you have TNA, who is partnering with the juggernaut, our Disney of professional wrestling, which is massive for that company. To be able to partner with somebody as big as the WWE is, and we've seen that with exponential shows over in not only in France but Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth. And this is just going to be a huge positive step for TNA if everything is done the right way. I think everything is going to be. I think TNA is going to exceed. Especially over AEW, honestly. This is exciting.
I'm glad you mentioned. Oh, go ahead, J-Bone.
No. Go ahead, man.
I'm glad you mentioned France and Saudi Arabia because I wanted to mention this on the show.
Mm-hmm.
France, we talked about this, has been the best crowd we've seen in a very long time. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Saudi Arabia, Jeddah, you guys tried, and I love that you tried. You just can't compete with what France's crowd did. I'm sorry, but I do love that you were out there trying to top that.
I don't think anybody will ever be able to top what France did. Who else? We have never had this. We've never seen this within the company or any other wrestling promotion, that they had a decibel warning in France because they were so freaking loud.
I mean, that is aggressive.
That is super aggressive. It is super awesome to see that, and it makes it, like I said, man, it's a breath of fresh air for us as wrestling fans. If I can, I know words are hard, J-Bone. You got that.
It's contagious. My bad.
I know.
We have this place for concerts back in Colorado.
Yeah.
Used to be called Fiddler's Green, and I'm one of those that will not call it its capitalistic name, whatever company owns it now, because they changed it from Fiddler's Green. It will always be Fiddler's Green to me.
Yeah.
And I remember I've been there for a couple of concerts. I've been there for Weird Al. I've been there for Kenny Rogers. I've been there for Chris Stapleton. I've been there for a few concerts. And I know that this place was like Red Rocks. There was nothing around it for the longest time.
Sure.
And now there are residences around there that complain when the concerts run late because, well, you guys are too loud and we're trying to sleep. You knew there was a music venue here, and you still decided, you know what, we should live right there by that venue. Right. They can be late as their concert runs because that's what this place is for. It's not our fault. You looked at the concert hall and said, well, they'll let us sleep at night. It's rock and roll, baby. You ain't sleeping tonight. We're not sleeping until Brooklyn, all right?
Well, I know that, when you have, so, when concert venues are throwing a concert, they have a certain deadline where they have to, especially if it's out in the open. St. Louis has the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, which will always be known to St. Louisans as Riverport. And they have they have to cut their concerts at a certain time, or else the band pays for the fine for the cutoff time for the noise ordinance. So, I understand, if the band wants to pay that fine, if they're cool with going over and they say, you know what, screw it, we're just going to pay for the hour $20,000, whatever it is. We're just going to pay that. That's cool. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, if you're going to live next door to a concert venue, especially as big as that one is in Colorado, you knew that going into this, that this was possibly going to happen. You couldn't possibly have thought that, well, that they're going to have Motley Crue there. So they're going to turn it down. They're not going to go over. They're not going to be rambunctious, please.
What is it they say in Spinal Tap and in Airheads? If it's too loud, you're too old.
Exactly. My uncle has a T-shirt that says that.
So, the crew just is like a nuclear bomb when they come to places. They just devastate for miles and miles. Also, you got to lock up your daughters when the Motleys hit the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll tell you, Twisted Sister probably pays that money that you were talking about for your venue there in St. Louis.
Oh, probably. Yeah, I think a lot of people have paid the fine to go over.
I'm pretty sure D. Snyder comes into town and says, "How much is it this round? Here's your check."
Right, exactly. Let's keep the train back on tracks here. Let's dive into some AEW news. Under Tony Khan's stewardship, AEW has forged a substantial partnership with Warner Brothers Discovery for programming. Khan has played an active role in ensuring that AEW's content aligns with the standards set by Warner Brothers Discovery. The collaboration has kind of sparked some speculations regarding the possibility of a media rights deal between the two entities. And now the estimated value of the TV deal has been disclosed. Warner Brothers Discovery is proudly served as the home of All Elite Wrestling, airing popular shows like Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision. The exclusive partnership between AEW and WBD has been so significant that it's led to the discontinuation of AEW Dark on YouTube, which I don't know how many views that got on YouTube. I'd have to go back and see if they're still up. But the report
still going?
No,
and that's. I think that had to do with never mind. Keep going.
I think cost has a lot to do with it, But anyway, the reports indicate that they are keen to retain AEW on TNT and TBS. However, Khan himself is quote disappointed, end quote, by the current offer on the table for his content. AEW's negotiation status with Warner Brothers Discovery was then revealed, as well as which is more than $110 million annually. And previously, AEW had a 4-year deal worth $175 million, just under $45 million per year. So
this new one is better.
This new one is a lot better, but it's less money.
Well, it's less money than I think Tony possibly wanted. I think Tony wanted possibly double what he was given.
Sure.
But from what I've heard, he's not, at least I think he's publicly said he's not upset with it. But
no.
It could be some people stirring the pot. But overall, it looks like the TV deal is set. We just haven't heard anything like officially, put out there.
I think it's, we've talked about this before. It's just been an ongoing process. You can't cut TV deals within a week's time. It takes time to make everybody happy on both sides.
Yeah,
and I think
it's a lot of negotiations, because the TV deal isn't, TNT isn't just going to be working with AEW. They're working with their sports. Yeah. They're working with a million other things, right. Advertising, sponsors, all sorts of stuff. So, yeah.
I think that what they look for is that they look for, okay, what is this brand doing? How popular is this brand? Is it going over? Is it, we're going to compare this because you are the big boys. It's where the big boys wrestle. So if you want to be compared as the big boys, let's look at what the MLB does, because some of the MLB games are on TBS. Let's look at what the NBA does, because the NBA games are on TNT. And I've always had the moniker of, I'm going to get more bang for my buck. So if Warner Brothers Discovery is really, really keen to keep this brand on their programming, what's it going to do for, what are you going to do for me? Basically, I mean, Khan is, as we all know, is Tony Khan, and sometimes he gets in his own way as far as creative goes. And we've been seeing all the reports of the declining of viewership on all the brands. I mean, it's just, this doesn't happen overnight. TV deals don't happen overnight. And look at the Netflix and WWE deal. That didn't happen overnight. Certainly didn't happen. I think Netflix was more keen to work with the WWE and say, you know what, we'll give you whatever you want, versus Warner Brothers Discovery, who has been I'd say having some sort of issues with keeping money and keeping money flowing. Their issues and talking with AEW and saying, okay, what are you going to do for us? So if everybody can just play nicely, if everybody can just do their job, I don't see a big problem with Warner Brothers Discovery keeping the AEW brand on TV, because that's only going to help them more than hurt them. If Warner Brothers steps away from the AEW deal, which has been talked about, it will definitely hurt AEW more than help them.
Yeah. As much as I think Khan needs to open his eyes and maybe get some help, and not just rehab help, but help with how booking should be done, I think he also needs to understand that he needs to be very wary with Warner Brothers Discovery right now, because they are restructuring a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
they have been for about the last year or so, and a lot of good shows that were part of the Warner Brothers Discovery family have found themselves out in the cold, despite the fact that they perform well in ratings. So, and Khan and AEW are not performing as well in the ratings as they claim they are, as the AEW stands getting on the internet claim they are. So, Khan, be careful. This might bite you in the ass.
I will say this. I will say this. You can always go to the Nielsen ratings, because it's public. It's public knowledge. You can always go to the Nielsen ratings and look at the ratings for AEW. You can follow the numbers. You can see, okay, where was the raise here? Where was the decline here? And as far as Warner Brothers Discovery cutting programming of popular shows that had high ratings, I get that, but I don't know what those shows were. I have no idea. But from personal, from what I've seen over the years, as far as popular shows not getting their contract extended to carry over to another season, a lot of the times it happens that some of the actors don't get what they're as far as money goes, they don't get what they want, and it causes a hiatus in a program, and they have no other option but to cancel a show. So there's that, and there's like a multitude of different reasons why a show doesn't carry over. I will say that yes, Tony does need to be wary of what Warner Brothers Discovery is doing as far as their programming goes. But I mean, they've had a 4-year contract with them, and they've done okay. I mean, they've done all right. I mean, yeah, there have been some declines and some peaks and valleys here and there for the programming of AEW, but like Max said, you have all these people on your freaking staff, Tony, that you're paying to help you with creative. Use them, utilize them,
and not the Bucks.
Yeah, please, not the Bucks. I mean, the all right, the Bucks. are okay as far as when it comes to the Bucks. When it comes to them, they're okay. I mean, they can book their own stuff. When it comes to anyone else, and I really highly doubt, I think it's more this whole EVP thing. I think this whole EVP thing is just for TV than it is backstage.
Well, they publicly said that he took away the EVP status of Omega, the Bucks, and Rhodes a while ago. I mean, definitely a while ago, since Cody's been gone for 2 years now.
Yeah. So this whole, I mean, it's all for show. That's what it is. I just think that Tony needs to utilize who he has to help him with creative. I think I saw a story, and I don't know this person. I don't know this for sure, but I think I saw something that Arn Anderson has stepped down from AEW. He's gone.
Yeah. There's a rumor that he's gonna possibly rejoin up with Cody Rhodes, but we'll see.
And that will be great. That will be fantastic.
I do want to touch on this AJ Styles story briefly.
Yeah.
Just because it is here.
Yeah.
From last night's SmackDown, if you guys watched it, at least watch the clip, because there has been some speculation as to what possibly is going on with AJ Styles. He's been trying to get back into the swing of things. He's had some losses, but he's also had some, pardon the pun, phenomenal matches. And so he's been talking with Nick Aldis, like, hey, give me another shot, give me another shot, give me another shot. And Nick Aldis is like, dude, I can't. There's too many other people around, and you've lost your chances. You had chances, you lost. So he's like, well, and then I need to figure things out. Well, this week he shows up in an absolutely beautiful sky blue suit. I don't know how else you want to describe it. If you want to give it another crayon color, go ahead. But
I'm good with sky blue.
I gave it sky blue.
SmackDown blue.
SmackDown blue? Okay, a little lighter, yeah.
Yeah, a little lighter.
But I love that. Well, blue has been pretty prominent with his his ring gear and whatever. But anyways, so he goes out there and he's talking about his options lately, and he just feels like he can't, if he's told that he's got to start all over again, he feels like he doesn't have it in him to do that. So he so if he can't give 100% to what he has to do in order to get back to the top, then he's gonna, it sounds like, I mean, he really kind of danced around it, but sounds like he's just stepping away, and he said, but before I do that, I whispered something in Cody's ear, and I asked him to come out given the appropriate time. And so I'd like to have Cody Rhodes come out right now. And so he did that. And then, he put over Cody. Cody got emotional, as Cody does.
Mm-hmm.
Max, don't you go to sleep on us now.
I'm good. Don't worry. I'm just laying my back for a minute because it got tight.
Okay. You put some icy hot on it. There you go. So he's got Cody out there. Cody's emotional. They're putting each other over. Cody tells him thank you, for all you've done. He's got his good brothers out there, which I loved, because you really haven't been they've been on NXT and stuff. So this is like the first time they've been back on regular TV in a little bit. And Cody's putting over AJ. It feels like this is it for AJ. He's saying goodbye. He's raising his hand. He's, getting the pop from the crowd. And AJ just lays out Cody and stomps a mud hole in him. This all felt very Mark Henry / John Cena-ish, but I mean it as a compliment because that felt very organic. It felt real, And
That was
just
my
with every
that was my first thought when he called Cody out there was, oh, is this a Mark Henry?
Yeah. It's like Mark. He was gonna use Mark Henry's peach suit, but I heard it was at the cleaners.
Possibly.
So yeah, I love this segment. What do you guys think about Cody getting another shit? Depending, I don't know when this is going to be, what the next major show is, but obviously Cody needs an opponent. What do you think about AJ Styles kind of just skipping in front of everyone and doing this?
With the phenomenal match they had at Backlash, and I'm not gonna talk long, Max. You can talk next. With their phenomenal match, and I mean pun intended, at Backlash, because that was so good. I think it's only right that they get in the ring again and fight for the championship. Max, what are your thoughts, man?
Clash at the Castle is the next big thing at this point, unless you want to put it off to SummerSlam. And I think that these two could put on a hell of a match at Clash at the Castle. I've only seen them in an actual match one-on-one once now, which was Backlash. So I can see them improving on that as good as it was.
Right.
That's one hell of a way to take the front of the line.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick. Let's hop off of that real quick, and we'll get back into some more AEW news. But if you go to WWE.com right now, there's a message there from Uncle Howdy, and it's kind of cryptic. It's kind of cryptic, man. So it goes on. It says, quote, "Hello, I'd like to tell you a story about value. We often equate value with utilization. That is not the case. It's a piece of currency. If a piece of currency is crumpled, ignored, and tossed to the side, does it lose its value? Of course not. It is simply in the hands of the ignorant. We often devalue ourselves as a result of the ignorance of those around us. Their words define us. I have been guilty of this myself. I have let the expectations of others determine my self-worth. But once I realized my calling, the words of the naysayers began to fall on deaf ears. I am nobody. I am all of us. When you free yourself from the preconceived ideas of others, from the lies, you become liberated. I accepted my calling. Only then was I able to set the others free. We followed the words of the red, and now we see. I offer you one last chance at redemption. If it doesn't have to be this way, the cave can no longer exist. We are going to burn it to the ground. A massacre is coming. 168, 197. Now I'm kind of curious as to what the numbers mean.
I'm looking, and the first thing that comes up is a Pokemon card. As far as I'm not doing the math thing, because I don't think the math, it says, if you do like the math, it's 0.852791. Okay, that's just, I don't think that's anything. Oh, okay. Hang on. All right. I just found, somebody, man, these people just, I don't know what they do, but they figure it out. I just got the answer here. This is on Squared Circle on Reddit. There is a special greeting when you go to WWE.com. You just read it. Hang on. It's
167-198. I found the number 167 meaning it means adventurous. Primarily focused on an expression of personal freedom in its own on its own terms. So
they're debuting on Raw.
So 168th day, 168th day of the year is June 17th.
Oh, 168. Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Shoot.
Here, let me show you something.
197 days remain after. So I don't know.
Now this means different. Okay, so I was wrong. 168 means family and exploring, doing things together as a family, as it is an enterprising energy. And 198, the meaning of 198 is a reminder to stay positive and hopeful even in the face of challenges or setbacks.
197.
Is it one? God dang it, 197. Shit. Okay.
So when you click,
damn.
When you click it to read the read more, the URL that comes up in the link is that. I just sent it to the private chat, or to the group chat, I should say. And if you look at that, you'll see that it says June 17th backwards.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is Raw after Clash.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. And there's been some other stuff that have that has like coded itself to give that date. So yeah. Okay. So June 17th, it's the Raw after Clash. Clash is coming up in June. We're just in June now. So a few weeks away, we might finally get. I feel like it's well overdue. It's you can only do this PR this or QR code, excuse me, this QR code stuff so much, and then going down the rabbit hole of all these things, the videos, the codes, that
yeah, right.
Clash is 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
In fact, 2 weeks from today, we'll probably be predicting or giving our predictions for Clash.
Yeah. Unless you guys want to do like what we did with King and Queen of the Ring, because it's going to be another day show.
Not right now. I mean, we might do that.
We have another show next week in between.
We have another show next week. So we'll
no, I just mean like on that day go later than we normally.
Yeah, we probably will. We'll discuss that, but I think it is time for I think it has been time to see Uncle Howdy debut. I really do.
We're all showing at the bed. We want to see it.
Yeah. Now let's go back into some more AEW news here. The company has seen a lot of growth since its debut in 2019, but there has been a lot of growing pains throughout, and there's also the fact that they recently introduced a lot of cost-cutting measures. In light of this, the reason for such measures has now been revealed. AEW recently unveiled a collaboration with the city of Arlington, Texas, introducing the Path to All-In Summer Series at the city's esports stadium. This weekly series features AEW Collision, one of AEW's flagship shows for Saturday night on TNT. Commencing on July 20th, Collision will broadcast from the stadium on a weekly basis until August 17th. The series serves as a build-up to the highly anticipated August event and pay-per-view event, All In, as the show will be taking place at the same venue. It's a cost-cutting measure, and fans kind of found this rather odd. Now, according to some people, a notable observation has been the implementation of cost-cutting measures within the company. While it's acknowledged that the talent roster is larger than necessary, recent cuts from a roster standpoint have been deemed sensible. The decision to hold tapings for Collision in Arlington, an experiment involving residential tapings instead of constant touring, is seen as part of the cost-cutting initiative, which could be why Tony Khan is going back and forth with Warner Brothers Discovery, saying, let's crunch some numbers again, because they've got a budget to think about. And somebody said playing with daddy's money. I think Max said that in the chat. But
yep,
how much money is daddy really gonna put forth towards this company if the company keeps going the direction it's going in?
Well, that's the thing, is with this new contract, if it is the 100 million plus, whatever it is,
the $110 million annually.
Okay. Which is good. And that still brings, from what I've heard and read, is that still brings the company profitable. And that's a very important point. It's like you've got to make the company profitable. You can't just keep pouring billions into it. I mean, yeah, you can, but there's only so much success that's going to come from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, we'll just have to keep an eye on this, with the whole cost cutting initiative taking place. There's been some speculation about the potential significant changes within the company of AEW, given the recent success of the 3-hour blocks, the possibility of either Dynamite or Collision permanently expanding has been a big topic of discussion. In a recent interview, Tony Khan was asked about the potential of Dynamite adding another hour into the feature. Khan referenced, of course, WWE's Raw's expansion to 3 hours back in 2012 and noted the challenge of maintaining audience interest throughout a longer show. And that all goes back to utilizing your creative. But Khan said, quote, "That's a really challenging question. It's been interesting to do the 3-hour block when it's been Dynamite and Rampage. You want to keep Dynamite as strong as possible. Look at the history of what's happened with a 2-hour wrestling show when that show has expanded to 3 hours. And you also have to think about, the cost cutting another, the cost of adding another hour to a show when they're already trying to, cut any cost that they can, but they're going to add another 3-hour block or another hour block to Dynamite, which, okay, Dynamite has always gone overtime. They've always done it. And recently it's been a lot more. It's been like 20 minutes over. So if they add, and I agree with Tony and I agree with WWE as to why they expanded, they put another hour into their programming, because it's hard to tell a story within 2 hours. You have so much to do within that 2-hour block that it almost invades the wrestling, and it's all storytelling. It's all storytelling, which I'm all about. I'm all about telling a story, but there's also another way of telling a story, and that's with in-ring matches. So I want to go down real fast, and I don't want to go off the tracks on this, but real fast, I want to get your guys' opinion. I think I already know what Baron would say on this, but J-Bone, what are your thoughts of AEW adding another hour block, another hour to their block of programming for Dynamite?
I know they've done it in past, trying to move stuff around regarding the TNT schedule and the NBA playoffs and stuff like that. Like 1 week, I noticed they had Rampage live following Dynamite, and that actually flowed together nicely. I didn't watch the whole thing, but how it went live, it was a different show, but the way they did it really was smooth. It really depends on how it's booked. And we've talked about the storytelling issues and stuff like that. I feel like they are improving. It's not by leaps and bounds. I can compare it to one of my favorite storytelling companies, and I feel like that's TNA. And WWE has certainly had highs and lows as far as in the world of storytelling, and no one is always going to be 100% on the money when it comes to that stuff. But I like the brand, so I'm not going to say I'm going to hate it. That doesn't mean you got to try to make more time for it. Sure. But if they make it worth it, then Raw's pretty good. SmackDown's great at 2 hours. Collision's good at 2 hours. Dynamite's good at 2 hours. It depends on how they do it. If they just make Rampage the follow-up show and run the two together and keep it smooth, or if they decide to make Dynamite 3 hours, you gotta make it worth it. You gotta have the matches. You gotta tell stories during the show. It's gonna be a lot of harder work for Tony Khan and the crew. Do I think it's possible? Sure. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be done well? Well, that's
to be determined, of course. But here's a question for Max. With regarding Dynamite possibly going 3 hours. Honestly, to me, they have a lot of shows, man. I mean, I know WWE has done the same thing in the past where they had back in the Attitude Era, they had Raw, they had SmackDown, they had Sunday Night Heat, they had all these other, B shows that they were trying to
Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. They had all these damn shows that they were trying to
main event.
Yeah, all these shows that they were trying to produce. And AEW is kind of following in their footsteps with that. Do you think, Max, it's too much? Do you think if they do a 3 hour block on Wednesday night, do you think it needs to be 3 hours of Dynamite or 2 hours of Dynamite and 1 hour of Rampage? Does it need to be 1 hour of what would you book? If you were in there, if you were actually at the table at AEW, what would you suggest?
Well, here's my thing. First off, there was a very long period where Raw was struggling to make an interesting third hour. And the problem isn't just, do you have enough talent on your roster? Because AEW has enough talent on their roster, and they have a hard time making an interesting 2 hours. I would recommend that until he gets a better booking procedure going, whether it be bring somebody in that knows what they're doing or gets trained to do it right, he should stick to the 2 hour Wednesday night. Because just because you have enough talent to fill it up doesn't mean you're going to fill it up right. And you're already looking at empty seats in your auditoriums. You're looking at lower ratings than normal. If you try and put a third hour out there, if you look at the Nielsen ratings, they break your show down by hour. Do you really want to see how bad your third hour is going to do compared to your first 2 hours?
Right.
At some point, maybe he could do it. But first, he has got to get a handle on booking so that he can make the show more intriguing and more people will want to watch it. Now, we were talking about this the other night in the chat. And this came up because of something on King and Queen of the Ring, because they were talking about 316 kicked off the Attitude Era, and that's what it eventually won the Monday Night Wars, was the Attitude Era, even though technically WCW kind of ended the war themselves by saying, oh, tonight on Raw, Mankind, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So there was a sign that Eric Bischoff had in his hand, and it says, Vince fears Ted Turner. And this was on a Nitro. This was during the Monday Night Wars. This was part of the Monday Night Wars, and it kind of gave me an idea. And if you think about it, that's kind of what Tony Khan's doing. He's trying to relive wrestling's glory days with him as the fantasy booker. The problem is you're doing it wrong. You're not putting on a compelling enough show to pull off the Monday Night War vibe that you're trying to put out there. Once you can get some better booking, maybe you can pull it off, but you really got to be competition to the WWE first. And right now, despite the heavy roster of talent you have, you're just not pulling the competition thing off at all.
And I think you said it best, Max, in the chat. Tony Khan is the kid in his bedroom with all these WWE figures, and he's got the ring, and he's got the the Titantron and all that, and he's playing. He's purposely putting all of his figures where he wants them to go, though he has no freaking idea of what to do. Just like J-Bone, he has no. No, I'm kidding.
I'm pretty sure.
Sexy ball.
And yes, I am the one that said that. I suspect that what he's doing, though, is he's taking a box of figures, that work for him. He's dumping those figures into his little ring, and then he's shaking it until there's 2 left, and that's the main event of the evening.
Right. Right. And there's no story there, and there's no storytelling while he's shaking
and sadly, when he was doing that, he was left in the ring with Jack Perry and the Bucks, and that's how he ended up getting attacked at the end of Dynamite that week.
And he also had to go and play, NFL owner for the Jaguars, who nobody gives a crap about. But I mean, there's got to be some fans out there of the Jaguars, but
really, his dad done that without his help.
Yeah. Let's shift gears and get away from AEW, because we've talked a lot about them. Incorporating new things, costs, cutting costs and things like that. WWE is also incorporating some new philosophies for their live event with the integration of WWE and UFC into the TKO umbrella. This led to some pretty significant changes. One of the biggest was the merger of the two companies in the live event operations. And it appears that WWE is now incorporating some new philosophies for these events. There's been a significant change in their approach to purchasing TV time and television ad time specifically. Traditionally, WWE would buy ads through local cable companies on Raw, SmackDown, and occasionally NXT to promote the house shows. For instance, in the New York market, they would advertise, the MSG Holiday show on Raw and SmackDown. However, over the past, 6 weeks, this advertising strategy has kind of ceased, with no ads for the 628 SmackDown in Madison Square Garden. And the new philosophy is not limited to just the New York market to disclose purchasing television ads for the foreseeable future. The change kind of predates the recent purchasing or the merger rather of the UFC and WWE live event departments. Instead, WWE is ramping up email communication to promote upcoming shows, which is a more cost-effective approach. The decision is influenced by factors like anticipating sellout events, not warranting TV advertising, and potentially doing some adjustments based on business performance. This is a smart thing that they're doing. If you think about it from a cost-effective strategy, all those things, buying ad time, buying radio time, buying all that, it costs a whole lot of money. And TV is way more expensive than it is to buy radio advertising. And now that we have not only email blasts that go to every single email that's associated with WWE.com, you also have social media. You also have Facebook. You can target your ads. You can target that. Now, I've never been a big fan of Facebook advertising, but it is what it is. We're moving into the future, and that's where people are going to when they want to see advertising. Because if you scroll and you see some form of advertising right there on Facebook while you're in between of your friends' posts and things like that. So
it's ridiculous. It's like every other post is a sponsor. It's like,
I know, but they're doing that for a reason. And if WWE can do that and do email blasts, it's gonna save them so much money in the long run versus buying TV time, versus buying radio time. Does it hurt the broadcast industry? Absolutely, it does. It hurts them, but it's smart for a business standpoint. And plus, they can still, promote. And I think what they're doing with the television thing is they're promoting the bigger events. They're not going to focus on house shows, because that's not going to be televised. Anything can happen at a house show. But if they're going to promote actual big events like upcoming PLEs, upcoming Raws, upcoming SmackDowns, and they can also, do a ticker across the screen of where they're going to be, and that will include the house shows.
Exactly. That's what they got to do.
Yeah, and they've done that in the past. I mean, they've done that. They've with their television time. That's what AEW does. Yeah. They're say, hey, we're going to be in these upcoming cities. So with that, I think it's smart to do that, to advertise with the TV time you've already purchased, not, buying more TV time to advertise house shows, especially on the radio.
Yeah.
Just do it like that, and you can buy. Well, my God, there's a tail. You've grown some hair, J-Bone. My gosh.
That's Ozzy. Hang on.
Hi, Ozzy. Welcome to
like a raccoon.
Ramblers Unleashed. Yeah, no kidding. I really thought it was a raccoon of some sort.
He's
Ozzy?
a fluffy boy. Fluffy boy.
You're singing the wrong song. Because if that's Ozzy, we're on a crazy train.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
This cat is crazy on his own, but he's fluffy, he's loving, and he's the best adjusting because Tracy's out of town.
Oh yeah.
So he's missing his mama. So he's kind of walking around crying a little bit.
I'm sure.
He just needs a little extra love.
Yeah. It's like the Charlie Brown. He's a little extra love. It'll be okay. So with all that, let's shift over into something else that we touched on last week, and that is the whole fiasco of the Tonga Twins and Women of Wrestling. I think it was last week. The Tonga Twins did had their own live stream. Interview, their own live stream, and they kind of touched on YouTube, and they kind of touched on what's going on with them and what had happened. So they've garnered some significant attention following this big announcement from their departure of Women of Wrestling, as revealed on their social media platforms and on YouTube and things like that. Now, their decision to leave WOW coincides with allegations of bullying and misconduct leveled against their fellow wrestlers within the organization. Now, it appears that WOW has been accused of treating people like trash. But the tables have kind of shifted majorly. Current WOW talent Simone Williams has accused the Tonga Twins of bullying and causing harm to fellow WOW wrestlers. And the Twins then provided video evidence in defense of themselves against those accusations of bullying. But another current WOW wrestler, Kelsey Lynn, took to Twitter and uploaded a photo of herself showing her swollen face. She revealed that the wrestler who accused the Twins of bullying almost kicked her face in and didn't bother to check on her before branding her as unsafe. She also said the same thing about the Tonga Twins, and they accused of WOW, claiming that the whole WOW locker room is a toxic place where if one stands up for themselves, they get branded as a bully. Trying to ruin one another's reputation will get them cheered. So again, this is all a he said, she said type of thing, and we're still finding out, what's going on. But what's really happening over at WOW, man? This is kind of concerning. Given to how much talent is left in the locker room. I think on the Tonga Twins' live stream on YouTube, they talked about an announcer going backstage and kind of asserting his power, saying that they're not going to fire me. They'll fire you before they ever fire me. So again, this is all a he said, she said type of thing, but whose word do you take? Max, what are your thoughts? Because I know you're thinking about this hard.
I am. I'm actually looking over some other stuff too, because in the article that you sent us for this story, there was a link to video evidence of them not being bullies. Now, I would like to say this, and I'm not saying that they are bullies, but you can be a bully and still give a pep talk like these videos show. I just want to make that clear. But they got out there, they got on they shared this video showing that they build the girls up in the locker room, and I think that's great. Now you got Kelsey back in them, but you've also got an unnamed female wrestler that got sent to the ER, and apparently that was due to the Tonga twins. Now, I realize that accidents happen in the ring. It's not always because they were working unsafe. I mean, things happen. You know, it's a dangerous business, even if it's choreographed. Right. But even without getting that, I told you guys last week, I really need to hear the male announcer's side of this. But as more and more information comes out, I'm starting to think I don't need to hear his side. Because as more people are backing the Tonga twins up, it's becoming apparent that there is at least some truth to what they're saying. And if there's some truth, that means that there is a guy working for that organization that does not belong there, because it is women of wrestling. And if you're going to badmouth women at a women of wrestling company, you do not deserve to work for women of wrestling.
Yeah, and they wouldn't name the male announcer who apparently had been going backstage and saying this, which is good. They don't want to find themselves in a lawsuit or anything like that. They don't want to get sued for anything, but those are some pretty big accusations. Those are some pretty big words to be, I guess you can say accusing of them, you know, accusing one another, you know, and again, this is all he said, she said stuff, but J-Bone, the amount of negativity that's coming from WOW, when it comes to the Tonga twins, when it comes to all the other wrestlers who are backing the Tonga twins, including Kelsey Lynn, showing this photographic evidence of her face being swollen after a match. You know, yes, Max hit the nail on the head that, you know, this is an unsafe business, but they work together to make it as safe as possible. Do you think that the culture over at WOW is going to change? Do you think that they're going to continue to retain their roster over all this? I mean, I just don't know who to take it. You know, right now I'm taking everything for with a grain of salt.
Yeah, you kind of have to until someone makes an official statement as far as like company wise or something like that.
Well, we all know. I mean, and I don't want to interrupt you, but you know, the company is always going to fall back and give us some sort of half-assed answer that, you know, we always, you know, we investigate any sign of bullying and all this, and they're going to if they do release anything, they're going to release like a total PR thing. I mean, it's going to be a total PR statement, but
yeah.
Do you think that they could retain the roster with all this? Because only they know the story. They know the whole story.
It depends on how far it goes and how deep the problems are, and we don't know that. The thing is, right now, the show itself is actually doing, from what I've heard, I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but they've been on the CW, and they've been doing really well. Their numbers are actually better than TNA numbers. They get somewhere in the realm of 300K to like 500K or something to that effect. So the show itself is actually doing pretty well. It's changed a lot over the years as far as content wise, roster wise.
Sure.
It used to focus a lot on like Tessa Blanchard and others. Those ladies are, you know, long gone. They've gone on to other things. And so do I think it's a possibility that they're going to just move on and, you know, incorporate new women to the roster? Absolutely. But it's like, yeah, kind of like you said, you got to take some of this with a grain of salt. It's a lot of he said, she said. As far as I know, the show's doing fine, and you can find it on YouTube too, I think is where they show their clips and stuff. I've seen some of them. Yeah. It's just kind of a wait and see thing, but
well, I know Ohio Valley Wrestling, with Al Snow. If you watch the wrestlers documentary on Netflix, they were not only sending people to AEW and WWE, but they were also sending their girls over to WoW, and they would always come back and they'd have like a positive reaction to WoW and how their locker room ran. So,
well, that's good. That's a good sign.
And that's pretty recent. Yeah, it's pretty recent. But I think like you said, I think everything right now has to be taken with a grain of salt, because right now it's just a he said, she said thing. And we definitely have to keep an eye on this, because if that is one of the big factors as to why these women are leaving the company, something's got to change. Something has to change.
Maybe. No, I'm just throwing this out there. This is purely speculation, but I could see something happening to the effect of maybe they just wanted to get out of the show, get out of their contract, so that they can maybe go to a bigger platform. They see what, their, we'll say, Samoan brethren are doing on other shows.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe they want a chance at, it's trying to see if the grass is greener somewhere else. Yeah. But that's just me. That's just,
That's a good speculation, though. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility on why they maybe grew tired of the brand, or grew tired of all these accusations that are now coming out, and they're like, we're done. Max, you were with a promotion for a long time. Did you ever have anything similar to this happen in the locker room? Was everybody pretty much, on a good level as far as personal and any bullying of that sort? So did you encounter that? What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, you occasionally have a little bit of drama in the locker room, but I never really experienced anything serious like this. I mean, the worst thing that I had to deal with when I was doing this was I had a guy who wasn't performing out there in that ring. And so the boss sent me out there to interrupt the match, because I'm the heel manager. If anybody's going to stop a match for no real apparent reason, it's going to be your heel manager. And I got out there, I got in the ring. I'm like, yeah, that's great. You guys, why don't you just head back to the back? And I started to address the fans like I was told. And this guy that just wasn't performing started to get into my face. And I'm like, cool, ref, get him out of here. Security, come get him out of the ring. This guy wasn't just reacting in character. He was offended that I had interrupted his match. And when I got back into the locker room, he tried to step up to me again. And the owner said, no, I told Max to do that because you just weren't performing out there. That's the most serious thing I had to deal with, was a guy that wanted to rip my head off for real. And even then, but I mean, other than that, I've had some pretty good locker rooms I've been in. I count myself lucky for that.
So when it comes to the drama that WoW is facing, with the he said, she said stuff, what are your thoughts, Max? Do you think some changes need to happen? Do you think that everything at WoW needs to be reevaluated?
I think the first thing to do is hear the stories. The powers that be need to sit down with the people that remain. They should probably call the twins up and say, hey, we want you to come sit down and tell us your story. We want to listen. Yeah. They should listen to what's being said, and then go talk to the accused and see what the accused says. And I'm pretty sure what you're going to find is you're going to find a couple of girls that are going to defend the accused, because, even if he's doing that, they're like, oh, everyone's taking it out of context. But what you're going to find is you're going to find this group of girls that did witness it that are going to say, yeah, that's what's happening. You're going to get this guy that goes, you know who I am. I'm untouchable. And the owner's going to be like, oh, that's not really a defense. And we're probably going to see him go to some kind of sensitivity training. And I'm okay with that. In the wrestling world's case, sensitivity training involves a steel chair to the head repeatedly, just so you guys know.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So we'll have to keep an eye on the situation as it develops. If any other news comes about, we'll definitely let you know on this show. But speaking of that, man, I think that is the show for today. We had a lot of fun. We want Baron back. Yes, J-Bone.
I got one last thing before we wrap it up. This is I want to share something with the audience and with you guys. This is a picture of me from 5 years ago with someone who's been in the news a lot lately. And this is when he first stepped through the MLW doors. This is from 2019, 5 years ago. This is J-Bone with Jacob Fatu. So,
wow.
I just got the reminder.
I don't think that's you. That guy with Jacob looks really young.
Yeah. Well, that's I've shut up, Max.
He's evolved, Max. My gosh, let him evolve.
We've all evolved a little, hair wise, weight wise, sexiness wise. I remain,
unfortunately for Disney, he's gone in reverse on the sexiness.
The fact remains. Wow. The fact remains you are still J-Bone, and the fact remains that Max is still an asshole.
And damn proud of it.
Yeah, Mr. Heel. That is the show for today, and it's been a hell of a show. And J-Bone is a secret member of the bloodline. Thank you, Mir. So yeah, we're not really supposed to talk about that though.
I'll show my Samoan ass tattoo next week. It's quite incredible.
Oh, your Samoan ass. Okay, cool. Right on.
He's the one that actually goes and gets Heyman's coffee and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, so you're the gopher.
I am, but I went from undesirable to undeniable to undisputed.
The undisputed coffee getter for Paul Heyman. Got it.
The undisputed
coffee fetcher.
Something. Yeah.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for us today. And please, as we always do before we end the show, Max, how can our wonderful fans get a hold of you?
Well, I know we're not going to go there. First off, shout out to our boy Baron, who is away on assignment. You can find him at Scumbag Jordan with 3 N's. N. You want to find me? You can find me at Max Magus. My nerd podcast is at Our Shots Podcast. Dude, I don't care if it's independent. I don't care if you buy a ticket to one of the big boys. Go check out some wrestling and enjoy it. Don't overthink it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need help remembering the Baron's social media, just think of 999 Jordan, Scumbag Jordan with 3 N's, 999. J-Bone, how can they follow you, sir?
You can follow me on that what do you call it? The X. I hate talking about my X, but I'm on the X.
I think we all hate talking about our X at some point.
I think that's why we still love talking, at least calling it Twitter. So yeah, you can find me on there at JBone5150. You can also find me over on that other little show called Total Nonstop Impact.
Yeah.
Where we talk all things TNA weekly. We got a great team over there, and we do live reactions, reviews, everything. So go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really got to get on board with us on that.
What?
Every time he does the Total Nonstop Impact, I followed up with this time we were a little bit off, but we both did it. You need to get on board with us.
Come on, man. I did it. I thought, to me, it sounded like it was on key or on point. God, Max, you're so critical. God. You can follow the show on social media. Ramblers Unleashed on Facebook. You can find us on X at The Ramblers Pod, and of course here on YouTube.com. please click the subscribe button, click the bell icon, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors all about this show, even your freaking enemies. Tell them about this show if they are fans of wrestling and they just want to see it get better. We're going to talk about the news that comes out of this wonderful world of wrestling, as we always do on Saturdays. Now, with the Clash at the Castle coming up, we'll have to be a little decisive on when we're going to do it next. What is this? Not next week, but 2 weeks out. So we'll have to be decisive. But I think Saturday afternoon next week, we will do it all over again. So please, like Max said, go out there and enjoy wrestling, no matter what it is. If it's indie, if it's the big boys, even if it's AEW, go enjoy wrestling, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.
The wrestling podcast that sets all other podcasts apart. Covering news from the world of WWE, AEW, TNA, and more. Your favorite weekly episodic podcast, Ramblers Unleashed, starts now.
Just kidding.
Did I hit the wrong damn thing?
You did hit the wrong.
God damn. All right, I'll hit the outro. Here you go.
Thanks for tuning in to Ramblers Unleashed. Follow the show on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click the bell icon for notifications of upcoming episodes.
Bye.
There you go. Good night.
Good night.